came home early to surprise my fiancé. Instead, I caught him screwing my cousin in our bed. Some moments don't just break you, they remake you. I couldn't wait to get home. After 3 miserable days trapped on a business trip with Roman Kingston, my demanding, devilishly handsome boss, I needed silence, space, and the comfort of my own bed. Strangely, he'd given me the afternoon off, which only added to his recent streak of confusing behavior. He'd been moody, snappish, and, if I'm being honest, more magnetic than ever, which just made him harder to ignore. I planned to surprise Dan, my fiancé, with a romantic dinner. He wouldn't be home for hours, and Laura, my model cousin, was probably out partying as usual. As I stepped into our townhouse, keys jangling and arms full, I dropped my bags by the stairs and headed to the kitchen, only to stop cold at the sound of footsteps above me. My heart stuttered. An intruder? No. Laura. She kept odd hours, and it wouldn't be the first time she came home at sunrise and slept all day. Still, unease prickled at me. I grabbed my dad's old baseball bat from the hallway and climbed the stairs slowly, breath caught in my throat. Then I heard it. A giggle, followed by a low male moan. Relief hit. Just Laura and some guy. Typical. I turned to leave, until I heard a voice I knew too well. Laura, you're so fucking hot. Dan. I crept down the hallway, praying my ears were lying. But as I reached our bedroom door and nudged it open, the truth slapped me in the face. There they were, naked, tangled, on my bed. Laura rode him like a goddamn porno. Dan moaned her name, gripped her like she was his last breath, and when she asked if her pussy was better than mine, I knew she wanted me to hear. I bit down on my hand to keep from screaming. How long had this been going on? We lived together. I trusted her. My cousin, who grew up watching her mother suffer through her father's affairs. I thought that would make her loyal. I thought he loved me. Instead, I stood there, a baseball bat in one hand and my dignity slipping through the other. I could have swung it. I wanted to, but I wasn't built for violence. I was built to survive. So I stepped back, straightened my spine, and found my voice. While you two finish up, I said, voice cold and steady. Should I cook dinner? He looked me in the eye, naked, stunned, and dripping with betrayal, and still had the nerve to call me baby. F me, Dan muttered, pushing Laura off him like she'd suddenly burned him. Her face paled, clutching the blanket to her chest, clearly just as shocked as he was to see me at the door. For a split second, I believed she hadn't known I was there. But that didn't excuse anything. No thanks, I said coolly. Looks like Laura already handled that. Dan stammered. Blair, what are you doing home today? His limp thing hung there, an embarrassing punctuation mark to the end of my relationship. That's what you're worried about? Maybe cover up. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just watched the man I once loved become uglier by the second. Nothing he could say would undo what I'd seen. I rested my dad's bat against the wall and crossed my arms, trying to keep from shaking. Dan pulled on his pants. Laura, once stunned, now looked smug, like she'd won something. She hadn't. I felt the loss of my entire world crashing down, but even in the wreckage, one thing was clear. I wasn't leaving my job. Dan and I both worked at Kingston, but I was there first. I wasn't handing over the last piece of stability I had. Dan reached out. Baby, don't you dare touch me. I stepped back, acid in my voice. I swear, it meant nothing, he said. It was just once. Liar. His eyebrow twitched, his tell, and then Laura spoke. He's lying. It's been months, since not long after he moved in. Shut up, you dumb bitch, Dan snapped, spinning on her. Doesn't matter, I cut in. Once was enough. I picked up the bat and used it to push him back. And don't call her a bitch. You were the one in the relationship. Laura scrambled to get dressed. Dan stared at me like he didn't recognize me anymore. Good. I didn't recognize him either. I may never forgive her, I said. But if she's a slut, what does that make you? I turned and bolted down the stairs. Grabbed my suitcase, my bag. Almost forgot my briefcase. From upstairs, their fight turned brutal, cruel, pathetic. You stupid slut, why'd you have to say anything? You didn't mind my mouth when it was sucking you off. I didn't wait for more. I walked out the front door, knowing I was never coming back. I didn't know where I was going, but anywhere was better than here. I bolted from the house with nothing but a suitcase, a bat, and a broken heart. The second I climbed into the taxi, tears started slipping down my face. I hadn't let myself cry in front of Dan or Laura, but now that I was alone, I couldn't stop. Where to? The driver asked. Good question. Home wasn't an option. My sisters were at work, and I couldn't sit alone in an empty apartment replaying that scene. I needed somewhere quiet, familiar, safe. The Kingston building, I said finally. The driver didn't pry, just nodded. Tissues in the middle compartment, hun. I grabbed a handful, wiped my face, and tried to breathe. My phone rang. Dan. Again. I silenced it without answering. What was he going to say? It's not what it looks like? Please. Men always had excuses. I I wasn't interested in any of them. By the time the taxi pulled up to the glass and steel skyscraper that housed Kingston Industries, I'd composed myself, barely. "Be honest," I asked the driver with a wry smile. "Do I look like a woman who just caught her fiancé sleeping with her cousin?" He gave me a kind look, a little red-eyed. "But you're holding up just fine." I climbed out, hoisted my suitcase, and stepped into the lobby, the cool air hitting me like a reset. Maggie at reception looked alarmed when she saw the bat still in my hand. I hadn't even noticed I was still carrying it. "Can I leave this stuff with you?" I asked, surprised by how normal I sounded. "Of course, Miss Warner," she said, though her eyes lingered on the bat. "Blair," I reminded her. In the bathroom, I fixed my makeup and tried to pull myself together. After a few deep breaths and a lot of powder, I looked passable. Just another tired office worker. No one would guess my entire world had imploded 3 hours ago. Back upstairs, Kara told me Roman was out. Relief flooded through me. I wasn't ready to face anyone, let alone him. I shut myself in my office, stared at my engagement ring, then yanked it off and tossed it in a drawer. I needed a drink. Roman kept a good bottle of scotch in his office. I helped myself. It burned, but not enough to stop me from sipping again. And again. I was halfway to tipsy when his office phone rang. Claire, Roman's girlfriend. Or maybe not for much longer. I told her the truth, or at least my version of it. By the time Roman walked in, I was sprawled on his Chesterfield, holding the bottle like a lifeline. "Blair," he said, taking it from me. "What have you done to yourself?" I stared at him. Getting drunk. Obvious, right? He didn't scold, just sat beside me. And God help me, I was glad he did.